Nestled deep within the heart of England, shrouded in an air of haunting mystery, stands the remnants of an old and eerie asylum that time has forgotten. The once imposing structure, constructed from decaying wood and crumbling bricks, now stands as a melancholic testament to a bygone era. The asylum's facade, weathered and worn, bears the scars of countless years of neglect. The wooden window frames, once painted in a faded shade of white, have succumbed to the relentless march of time. The glass panes, now cracked and murky, cast fractured reflections of the world outside, distorting reality like a twisted funhouse mirror. The air is damp and heavy, carrying with it the musty scent of mildewed blankets that have weathered the passage of time. The faded remnants of what were once bright pinks and blues provide a haunting contrast to the otherwise stark and desolate surroundings. In the center of this grim chamber, a small lamb sits as a silent witness to the heartbreaking history that unfolded within these walls. This lamb was not a toy, but a symbol of the innocence that was lost within the asylum's cold and unforgiving embrace. It served as a feeble attempt to comfort the babies born in this wretched place, a glimmer of warmth and humanity in an otherwise bleak existence. The small lamb represents the infants who were born within the asylum's confines, brought into a world of despair and darkness. In the annals of the Region State Asylum's history, the shadows of injustice loom large and dark. This narrative unveils the tales of systemic mistreatment, abuse, and the violation of human rights that festered within the asylum's walls for generations. Within the chilling confines of the Region State Asylum, one of the most tragic stories emerged, a case that defied comprehension and empathy. Patient 396, a child of only 5 years, was born in the asylum, brought into a world marked by the cold embrace of 2 bricks and a cement floor. Birth was an event marred by the asylum's stark and unforgiving surroundings. The absence of proper medical care and compassion meant that his first moments of life were marked by cruelty and neglect. He was known as Dark within the asylum, a name that reflected not his essence, but the shadows that engulfed his existence. Dark symbolized the grim reality of being born into an institution where suffering and despair were the prevailing forces. At the tender age of 5, patient 396 should have been exploring the world with the curiosity and innocence that defines childhood. Instead, he was condemned to a life within the asylum's oppressive walls, where his potential for growth and happiness was stifled. He had a deformed figure from experiments, his eyes were black, and he had a frail white color skin. He was very bony, and his tongue was removed so he couldn't talk. Dark, as he was known within the Region State Asylum, possessed a haunting and distinctive appearance that bore the scars of his harsh upbringing within the institution. For 10 years at the age of 15 was his final year of torture. In his final days within the Region State Asylum, the life of Dark, the child born into the institution's cruel embrace, took a harrowing turn. Dark's isolation from the world deepened as he remained confined to the asylum's grim, shadowy corners. The absence of human interaction, love, or kindness left him in a state of profound loneliness. With his inability to speak and express himself, Dark's inner torment remained locked within him. His silence was a poignant testament to the profound suffering he endured in silence. Dark's plight went largely unnoticed within the asylum, lost amid the cacophony of suffering and cruelty that surrounded him. The indifference of the staff and the systemic neglect sealed his tragic fate. As Dark's final days unfolded, the asylum remained a place where cruelty and neglect reigned supreme. His body was never found. The boy was the longest living child that was born in the walls of the asylum. He could not handle any more enduring pain, torture, or neglect. At the age 15, he took his last breath. It is said he had several broken bones. His hands grew twisted and his feet were inward. His scars around his wrist and ankles served as a reminder of the restraint straps he was placed under. He never wore clothes, he was always naked. Dr. Hawthorne stated in one of his documents about Dark, he was a good boy. He would sit in a corner chained for days. His own personal pet, Dr. Hawthorne, referred to Dark. He lived off feces and crickets, bugs and worms that would crawl around in the asylum. The rats that lured within the walls, Dark would catch them and eat them. One day noted that Dark found a frog that happened to enter the walls of the asylum. He became friends with the frog. Thank you. Read the book The Asylum by Melissa Holt. Be safe out there.